Your iPhone has a big secret. It is constantly fighting off hackers, trackers, and other big companies, all automatically in the background while you just use your phone like normal. Apple is doing lots of things all the time to make sure our information is safe, secure, and private. Lots of things that I don't really think many people are aware of. But is this focus on privacy and safety and security worth it if it means we have to make some trade-offs and sacrifices like a dumber Siri on our phone? Or should Apple give us a little bit more control and a little less privacy if it means things work better and are more convenient? Let me tell you all the ways in which Apple is saving you, lots of different ways on a daily basis as you use its products and services, and why maybe it's time that they should just stop trying to save us. And a big thanks to Imazing for sponsoring this video. I don't mean to start this video off on a scary topic, but you just gotta acknowledge the fact that right now, as you are watching this video, there is more work being done and more money being spent than ever before by these multi-billion-dollar companies to get as much of your personal information as possible. And these companies are really trying to stop at nothing in order to get it. Apple is known for many things these days. Their beautiful products, their awesome services, their sleek-looking presentations, but also they are getting more and more recognition for their firm, unwavering stance on privacy. And Tim Cook himself should be applauded for his efforts, especially how he's not afraid to back down against Mark Zuckerberg, and he's willing to go toe-to-toe with Facebook and kind of call them out for their shady business practices. And if you want to know how Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp are trying to get as much info on your iPhone as possible at all times, you definitely got to check out the videos we have linked down below or up here. But in this video, I kind of want to talk about how Apple is saving us all the time. The different services and procedures and security features put into place to make sure our information stays ours and not given to other companies automatically. Apple has an entire page on their website dedicated to showcasing some of the ways in which they're trying to keep your info safe and secure in different apps and features in their products and services. And I'm not gonna go through all of these because that could get a little long, but let me just give you some of the highlights. First, let's just jump into it and talk about Siri. Siri these days has a rising reputation. It's not as bad as it once was, but it's still not stellar. And I think most people these days would much rather use Amazon services or Google's virtual assistant than rely on Siri for its brain power, even though again, yes, it is getting better. And if we sort of rewind the clock a bit back to 2011 when Siri made its official debut inside of iOS on the iPhone, it was really exciting to see. Yeah, it was sort of a novelty and a little bit of a niche thing. It was more of a party trick, but it increasingly got more useful. It got better as time went on, and it was able to do a lot of cool things. But quickly, and not without wasting any time, Amazon and Google debuted their own answers to Siri with Alexa and Google's virtual assistant, which quickly kind of started to run laps around what Siri could do. One of the prevailing theories on why Siri is just not up to snuff with the competition these days is because of Apple's firm stance on privacy. That simply put, they are just not collecting nearly as much information as the other guys like Amazon or Google. And because of that, and these kind of stringent privacy practices, their virtual assistant is just not as good because it doesn't have the databases of information to learn from and analyze and use to get better, at least not at the pace that these other companies can. For the most part, Siri does not share any of your data with Apple, and when it does, it completely anonymizes the data. So Siri is kind of naturally made to not understand that the person who's talking to this Siri and the Siri on this are the same person. Your information is not tied to your Apple ID, and doing so would obviously allow Siri to know a lot more about you. Siri also does a lot of its processing, the vast majority, on the device itself. So it's not relying on algorithms back at Cupertino or different servers in order to answer the vast majority of questions. And again, that is done for safety and security and for your benefit to do as much locally on the device as it possibly can. Next one is photos, and this is a big one just because it's incredible to see how far this technology has come. On one hand, you have Google Photos, which is like creepy good at being able to tell you not only who's in a picture in terms of the people, but also when the picture was taken, the location, whether it was dusk or dawn, the dog in the picture, and then just being able to identify really weird things in the background that you had no idea a computer could even pick up on. Google Photos is crazy good, but with that crazy goodness kind of comes some crazy creepiness, because in order for it to analyze all those photos and catalog them and use the machine learning processes on them, you got to give up all your photos to Google and give up lots of information in the process, which is kind of what you come to expect with Google. You give them some of your information and they're able to give you a free service that actually works pretty cool and does some cool things. Apple, on the other hand, is taking a different approach. They do have sort of the same search functionality with faces and places and stuff like that, which is getting better all the time and works really well. But the big difference is that all of the processing that Apple does inside of the Photos app is done on the device itself using the processor inside of your iPhone or iPad, which is actually really impressive and really cool if you think about it. Okay, so this next one you have to check out for yourself right now because it is crazy to actually see in action. This is Safari's intelligent tracking prevention, which is basically blocking a lot of the trackers and a lot of the different technologies that want to track you around the web as you do your web browsing and learn your browsing habits, and then turn that information over to brokers in order to sell your information to target you with personalized ads. So if we jump here onto Safari on the iPhone, I'm on ESPN.com here, I can kind of browse around and use the website as I normally would. But if I tap on these two A's here in the top left, I see at the bottom here a privacy report that says there's 21 trackers prevented on the site. So this ESPN.com website right now, Safari was automatically blocking 21 trackers trying to track me on this website. But if I tap on that to see the full privacy report, it gets even crazier. So what we see in here is that in the last 30 days, this automatically prevented 168 trackers from profiling me, and 70% of the websites that I visited had trackers, which is pretty crazy to see. And if you kind of go down below, you can get even more information. So ESPN.com had 21 trackers. Obviously, you know, Google, it was stopping 116. And then of course, you know, there's different websites you can go in here and see, you know, the different various trackers that they were stopping automatically. I can also go back here and see kind of the trackers tab, and I can see the different types of trackers. So you can see this is doubleclick.net, this is from Google, Facebook, Google, all the kind of, you know, usual suspects you would probably think would be trying to track you. And all this is, again, being done totally automatically in the background by Safari on your behalf all the time. So it's really kind of crazy and very eye-opening to see all of these trackers that were automatically prevented, a lot of which you wouldn't even necessarily see on the site. Even if you don't click on an ad or you don't interact with a certain part, that tracker is still loading and tracking you as you move across the web. So thank you, Safari, for keeping us safe. So obviously security on iOS is super important, but what's also super important is taking full control of your device, and most importantly, having full access and easily being able to manage all of your precious data that lives on your iPad and your iPhone. And the best way to do that is by using one of my favorite utilities of all time, this video sponsor, Imazing. Think of Imazing sort of like the Swiss Army knife for iOS device management. It is an incredibly feature-packed application available for both Windows and Mac that gives you total control over your iOS devices while also respecting your privacy. One of my absolute favorite features of Imazing is the ability to do wireless and encrypted time machine style backups of my iOS devices. So if I delete a text or a file or a photo, I can really easily dig into those backups, find what I'm looking for, and recover it right inside of Imazing with just a couple of clicks. Also, unlike Finder, Imazing doesn't make you choose between either doing a local backup or an iCloud backup. You can actually do both and have the best of both worlds. I also just really appreciate the fact that Imazing is made by a team of Apple enthusiasts. So they're always supporting the latest features and the latest updates with the iPad and the iPhone and the Mac. And also, they're looking to extend the Apple ecosystem and not break it. Like using standard Apple channels to communicate with iPads and iPhones, and also doing the backup encryptions on the iOS device itself, so your files are safe and secure and encrypted before they even leave the device. So now is the time to take full control over your iOS devices and super easily manage all of the precious data that lives on them with Imazing. It's an incredible app. It can do so many cool things, and you can try it for free today for both Windows and Mac by checking out that link right down below, or by visiting imazing.com/AppleCircle. And if you purchase Imazing through that special link, Imazing is gonna give Apple Circle viewers a special 30% discount this spring. It's an unbeatable deal, and you gotta try it out and check it out for yourself right now. So hit that link down below, or go to imazing.com/AppleCircle. And Safari is just the tip of the iceberg, because inside of Apple software on macOS and iPadOS, and especially on iOS, there are so many built-in features for your benefit to make sure your information is safe and secure, and to make sure that when you are using your camera or on a website that you're giving information to, you know explicitly what's going on. You have indicators that show you when your camera and microphone are active. You can see who's accessing your information from the clipboard, which is kind of crazy, and just recently exposed a lot of bad actors who are trying to automatically copy information from your clipboard. There's this new app tracking transparency feature, which is basically going to tell you, hey, when you launch an app, this app would like to request to track you across different apps and websites, and gives you a really easy prompt. Do you want to, allow this tracking to happen, or do you want to ask the app not to track you and automatically kill all that tracking that happens outside of the app? Super, super simple. And again, all in an effort to make all this tracking done by third-party companies much more transparent to you and I as we use Apple devices. You've also got end-to-end encryption with messages sent through iMessage. Apple Maps does not tie your location information to your Apple ID, unlike Google, who ties that information directly together, and you can actually go online and see exactly where you were at what time 3 Fridays ago, thanks to all that information being tied in with Google Maps. It's actually kind of creepy. And obviously there is much, much more and more being added all the time. But this is just in terms of software. Apple's doing also a lot of things in the same vein in terms of hardware to, again, keep safety and security at the top priority of their devices and to keep your information safe. Face ID, for example, is way more secure than any other standard facial unlock feature on other phones. It's because of the true depth camera system, and specifically the dot projector, that your iPhone is actually making kind of a 3D map out of your face. Every bump, every curve, your face is kind of being scanned, which is why the process for onboarding through Face ID is a little bit more involved, a little bit more time consuming, but it's also why it works 98% of the time, and why it is much more secure than a regular old face unlock. Your face unlock information is also stored on the device itself in what Apple calls a secure enclave. So this is why when you have a new Face ID device, for example, like you set up a new iPhone or you get a new iPad Pro, why you have to go through the whole setup process for Face ID again. It's because all the information is being stored on the device itself, and it's not being shared with any server in the cloud or anywhere else. There's also a security chip built into Macs called the T2 chip, which actually does a lot of really cool things, but chief among them is making sure your Mac is safe and secure. It makes sure that when you hit that power button, you are booting up to a legit official version of macOS signed by Apple, and that there's no different bootloader or other kind of command line tools, utilities, or applications trying to run at the base level to try to get your information or to trick you into loading something else while your Mac boots up. It keeps everything very safe and secure. And there is also this kind of crazy headline that's kind of making the rounds lately that AirTags, this unreleased product as of right now, that'll allow you to kind of keep track of your different items in a backpack or a bag or a purse or what have you, will actually work the opposite way as well. That if someone is trying to track you with a rogue AirTag or some other tracker in a bag or backpack that you have on, that the Find My app will alert you that there is another kind of unknown device that's been following you. And again, that is not covering everything, but I think you guys kind of get the gist. Apple is doing so many things with our knowledge, and probably even without our knowledge, kind of behind the scenes, in order to keep us safe and secure and our information private. And it is a very noble effort. It should be rewarded, and it's one of the many reasons many people buy Apple devices and are so engrossed in the Apple ecosystem for that firm stance on privacy. But is it always worth it all the time, especially if because of that privacy and that focus on safety and security, it kind of makes some things a little less convenient and effective. I think what this ultimately comes down to is kind of your stance on privacy and whether you think it's worth it to make those sacrifices in order to share less of your information to other companies. And obviously, nothing's stopping you from using multiple services. You can love Google Assistant on maybe your Nest Hub Max at home and still use an iPhone for everything else. You could have access to Google's, photo services in the cloud, but still take photos on your iPhone and sync it with iCloud photos as well. There are different things you can do, different combinations you can make, and it's maybe a little bit more cumbersome, but it actually, still does work, even though it's not as flawless or as seamless as it might be if you used a different OS, though it definitely is possible. But I think in terms of Apple's stance on privacy and where they're going next, they're not going to slow their roll in terms of safety and security and privacy. I think if anything, future iPhone models like the iPhone 13 and software updates that come like iOS 15 are just going to be more aggressive in making this information leakage stop. What do you guys think? Are you all in on the Apple ecosystem? Do you really appreciate Apple's firm stance on privacy, even if it means Siri isn't as smart as the other guys? Or do you value the differences in other ecosystems? Do you think Apple should kind of change their tune a bit and allow users who want to give it more information away to be able to do that in order to make these services better for everyone? I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below. As anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I'm Robert Rosenfeld from the Apple Circle, and I'll see ya in the next one.